official call is under review. Let's go to the monitor.
SEC football. It just means more. Now back to your favorite bearded duo, Todd and Marty.
Welcome back, guys, and welcome to the Week 13 review here at the Under Review podcast. What a wonderful week it was for most of the slates of the games. I mean, I'll say all of them, but I mean, we had a pretty good week.
Is what
Chaos.
It was. Chaos.
That's what, and I texted you after you done the last one. I said, there's going to be a lot of trap games this week.
Yeah, it was Trap City.
Trap City.
It really was.
Well, can't sing that song because, it's got a lot of those profanity words in it that we don't use.
Some of them adult words.
Yeah, some of those adult words.
I heard Brittany did an Alabama game. She had all the adult words.
We ain't unlocked those yet.
Yeah, we haven't achieved that Xbox goal or
achievement. Unlock that achievement.
Yeah.
But, as we all know, I am your host, Todd, and alongside me on the other side of the screen is my co-host, Marty.
Glad to be back, fellas. Glad to be back. And ladies that listen.
Ladies and gentle dweebs.
That sounded like an old
Ed,
Saved by the Bell reference.
Yeah. One of those old cartoon or whatever, 90s stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely had Saved by the Bell vibes written all over it.
But yeah, it's a lot of stuff we got to go over this week. A lot of teams played themselves out of the playoffs as of right now, and the conference championship.
Yeah, I most definitely think we're going to outshoot the time in just a little bit here because I've got 4 or 5, maybe 6 pages of notes altogether. And then plus that little special dilly new fun thing that we're going to start this week as well.
All right, well, let's...
Did we get lost?
That was your cue to swap the screen.
Oh. I was waiting on a transition button.
That's what it was.
I didn't hear it on my end.
It played on mine. Okay.
This episode of the Under Review podcast is brought to you by Chuck's Heating and Air. Chuck has over 40 years of service and experience with residential services. He services most makes and models. He is Alabama licensed, bonded, and insured, and locally owned and operated. Are you hot and you're supposed to be cool? Are you cool and you're supposed to be hot? Then you've got a problem. Call Chuck. Area code 256-892-2757. Again, 256-892-2757. Chuck's Heating and Air.
That's right. And always, everything you need and will be done by Chuck's Heating and Air.
Yeah, it's getting super cold, so I know Dad's just going to pick up a little bit and get busy.
Chili's on the willies,
Careful about your willy chili.
Careful. All right, let's start it. Chaos has indeed ensued this week inside the SEC. Georgia, there's only 3 teams left.
Well, I was just putting it in there for...
Okay, got you. 3 teams are left. Georgia clinched yesterday. So
that's why they're raising the roof.
Yeah. Hoot, hoot. Hooty, hooty. Texas and Texas A&M this upcoming week. Biggest game. Whoever wins is inside the SEC championship. I know a lot of people don't want Texas inside the SEC championship on their first year inside the SEC. But listen, they're the better team. Georgia and Texas have already played once. You're not wrong. But welcome to New Day college football.
So Texas A&M beats Texas. It's going to be A&M and Georgia?
Yep, Georgia's clinched.
Okay, well, I knew Georgia had clinched, but I wasn't sure. That's what me and Breach talking about the Texas A&M. Well, if Texas A&M makes it to the championship, it's their first conference championship game since they were back in the Big 12.
It says a lot, don't it?
Well, most definitely. So is Tennessee got any shot at this?
Nope, it's just them 3 teams.
Okay, well, if I'd have known that earlier, but still, look, Alabama's in the trash, and Tennessee's looking at how they didn't get in. There we go.
Yeah. Why explain it for the visual learners?
Well,
the people that listen to us on Spotify. Sorry about that, but
right, yeah.
Anyway, hold on before we jump into everything. Speaking of Spotify, I want to thank everybody that listens on Spotify, who watches Facebook Live when we do it, that watches us on YouTube, catches clips from Instagram, And if y'all don't know, we are now on TikTok. So go over. We'll throw some clips out there on TikTok as well.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. And now, down to our first matchup as UMass traveled down to Athens, Georgia to face the number 10 Bulldogs. Final score 59-21 in favor of the Georgia Bulldogs. Marty, tell us a little bit about this.
I mean, we didn't expect anything. It didn't happen. I was surprised that Georgia's defense let UMass score 21 points. I don't know if that was later in the game or what.
No, they scored in the first three quarters, 7-7-7.
Well, I guess it's not terrible, but nonetheless, Georgia still did what Georgia was supposed to do, like I said, in locking that championship up for the coming weeks. I mean, Beck did what he had to do. 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, and in the backfield, Nate Frazier, 136 for 3 touchdowns, really sealed this deal and got him in a good spot for them in the SEC championship. But do travel to Georgia Tech next week for their rivalry game. Again, I think it could be this way as well. Just I don't want to say a tune-up game, but because crazier things have happened all year. So.
Yeah, hold on. I was not ready. Thought I was. Carson Beck, 20 for 31, 297 yards, 4 touchdowns. Glad he showed up. Welcome to the party. Where was this a couple weeks ago? Gunnar Stockton got a little playing time, went 3 for 4, 45 yards. Nate Frazier, 21 for 136, 3 touchdowns. And then Arian Smith down here, 3 receptions, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. No fumbles lost out of 2 fumbles between Beck and Dominic Lovett. And then pretty much a defensive solid, just everybody getting a piece of everybody.
Right.
53 total tackles.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like you said, Georgia doing what Georgia was supposed to do. This game was a little close first half. What's going on?
Closer than what we thought, because I think UMass actually scored the first touchdown of the ball game. Wasn't 100% sure. That's what I thought when I was watching some of the other early games. Did you find it? Did you get lost?
That's the third straight week has done that. It's starting to piss me off.
Just hit okay?
Okay to what?
It said you'd stop recording.
No, we're going.
Blind spot.
Yeah, don't ask. New computer.
Can you see that?
Yes, and now the cat has made it onto the stream.
Big stuff.
Well,
I think he's been asleep for the last 2 hours and not moved a muscle.
Let's head on down to our next matchup and not talk about the kitties.
Yep, see there? Good transition. Wait. Well, this one's next.
I don't know. The UTEP Miners travel down to Knoxville, Tennessee. Final score, 56-0.
Again, this is just like the Georgia matchup. I mean, really, a 2-8 team versus a 8-2 team. Nothing. UTEP didn't even score. Didn't even look like they were going to score. Really didn't have sustainable drives. Tennessee's defense played, again, lights out. Nico had 209 yards, 4 touchdowns. I don't remember. Lewis rushed for 4. I can't even talk today. 46 yards on 2 touchdowns. And Blue McCoy, 4 receptions, 37 yards and 2 touchdowns. This was all Tennessee. So, Tennessee's outside looking in. I mean, I think they'll be strong for the playoffs. I think Brittany was showing me a few things about projected games. Yeah, them hooked on phonics words. To do that. So nothing we didn't expect here, but besides Tennessee to roll.
Yeah, Nico Iamaleava, 17 for 23, 209 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like we've talked about, Dylan Sampson didn't really have a good game. But
No.
UTEP probably pulled about second quarter. Let's be real.
Right.
11 carries, 77 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, he didn't do much, but nonetheless, I would rather save him for, I guess, get him a couple of reps Georgia Tech. If they start getting crazy, preserve him for
They play
the
Vandy.
playoffs.
I'm going to say they play Vandy next week. Georgia plays Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
Yeah. Again, on the defensive side, 65 total tackles as a whole. Not just communally, the word I'm looking for here. Just everybody.
Communitively?
See, look, we help each other.
Right.
Everybody had a little piece of the pie, as you would say. South Carolina Gamecocks hosted Wofford. And Wofford got a whopping. 12 to 56, South Carolina.
Actually, the Terriers, they're like Boston Terriers. And I didn't know that till I guess I watched some of this game just to check it out. And it was all Lenore Sellers, this game. It really was. Shocking again that they were allowed 12 on this very tough South Carolina defense. And usually they're a bend, not break team. But this week, Wofford found a way to score, which, 5-6 in their conference is not in their conference, but in their overall, not terrible bad for them.
Right.
But still, 608 total yards, 343 in the air, and 265 on the ground. Sellers had 3 touchdowns on 307 yards. I think he had 1 rushing touchdown possible, but he really done it all as far as his being the Swiss Army knife for this team and really giving a good whopping to the puppy dogs.
Yeah, Lenore Sellers 23 for 27, 307 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Robbie Ashford got a little playing time, 3 for 4, 23 yards.
Now the drive he was in was a pretty nice drive. We were watching it at that time, and he looked determined to score, and he drove it down and he punched it in.
Yeah, it just showed up him running the ball in. Raheem and Lenorish, doing running things. 5 rushing touchdowns this game. Good Lord. But
there wasn't a whole lot of defense on the Wofford side.
Well, when you play a D2 school, it's pretty much what you get.
Right.
Early on, these 3 teams handling business as they should. So we're just going to keep on trucking. That is down to Arkansas as they face the 4 and 5 at the time. Or, no?
4 and 5.
Okay. The 4 and 5 La Tech Bulldogs, which you couldn't spit that out Thursday, 14 to 35 in favor of the Pig Sueys.
Well, first of all, let's jump back to our preseason stuff. We had Arkansas nowhere close to this record with Sam Pittman really being on the hot seat. But in this game, Arkansas gets their 6th win, makes them bowl eligible. Really not surprising with Taylor Green. He done it all for this team. He passed for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns, 61 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Offensive totally 456 for the Razorbacks. They evened it up pretty good at 235 on the ground and 221 in the air. So a really put together Arkansas team here to get their 6th win in bowl eligibility. Now, this La Tech team was about a little bit more than mid-pack in the Conference USA. I know they was up there close with Jacksonville and the other teams in that conference, but I don't know. I think Arkansas might keep Pittman.
It could happen.
They're 6 and 5 now. Like I said, they're bowl eligible. They got 1 more game, then they're bowl. So I don't know. I think really at the beginning of the year, because we had, of course, Pittman and
Napier
really just already on the stove, but they've turned it around, and I think there's other people in the hot seat now as far as SEC coaches, but
That's tough for me.
Something that rhymes with LSU.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, because at the end of the game last week, the one that they lost, they were chanting "Fire Kelly, Fire Kelly."
Ain't no way.
Oh, they were. I think that on TikTok.
It's the first I've heard of that. That's pretty interesting because I did not know that.
Yeah, when you said give me about 5 or 10 minutes before you started, I was still flipping through TikTok, and the student section was chanting "Fire Kelly." Now, granted, they were all probably already belligerently consumed too many adult beverages, but that's beside the point.
I mean, would you expect any less than LSU?
No.
Again, last week, but Arkansas, Taylor Green, 20 for 37, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jaquindon Jackson, 16 carries, 55 yards, 1 touchdown, but the big rusher was Rashawn Dubion, 15 carries. That is probably not how you say that name, but guess what? We're not professionals, so you're welcome.
Nope, never claimed to be.
15 carries, 112 yards, and no touchdowns. He was your rushing leader for the Razorbacks. Andrew Armstrong, which doing his thing again. 8 receptions, 81 yards. And then flipping down here to the defense, their big killer was Brad Spence. 8 total tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass deflection. You know what I'm looking at? Is the kid that I projected for the best defensive player of the year, even against Louisiana Tech, is not playing at all? It was just a bad pick. Again? It was just a bad pick by me, I guess.
Oh, who was it now?
Junich. He's the defensive lineman that played at Penn University. He got to play in the game that we went to, but that was about it. I mean, I think everybody got to play that game. But let's head on down.
Let me flip over to
Missouri. What could have been a closer game. Travel down to start Vegas to face the 2-9 now and 0-7 in the SEC Conference Mississippi State Bulldogs. Final score, 39-20 in favor of the 23-ranked Missouri Tigers.
Well, the thing here about Mississippi State being the bottom of the barrel at the SEC, right under Auburn and Kentucky, they still can't put it together. I think it's going to be a next year type thing. But they didn't give up. They played this game a whole lot closer as far as what I thought. I mean, they still 338 total yards, 191 through the air, 147 on the ground. I mean, they did it, but Missouri did it better. And I think I guess it's like 2 or 3 weeks ago when you and I both mentioned about Nate Newell and Buren III. They really seem to be a little more acclimated into the offense now as far as total team. Brady Cook, 268. I think it's 1 touchdown. Nate Newell, 95 yards. He ran the ball really well. Didn't get in the end zone, but Luther Burden III, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. They look really good. I mean, Mississippi State, punched them in the mouth 3 or 4 times and kind of kept it close in there. But at the end, Mizzou found a way to put it through 471 total yards, 207 on the ground, and 268 in the air, which, like I said, Brady Cook is going to be there. Good things in Drew Pine that we've seen already this year. So,
one game.
Well,
it is what it is.
Now, is Cook a senior or?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's still not bad coming in, looking in for next year for Pine to be that quarterback.
But Brady Cook, 15 for 20, 268 yards, 1 touchdown. Nate Noel, like you said, 25 carries, 95 yards, no touchdowns. But their big player was their backup, Marcus Corral, 14 carries, 61 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Receiving for them, LB the third, 70 receptions. 7 receptions for 91 yards, 1 touchdown. I was looking at Theo Weeds for 4 receptions, 72 yards. Tristan Newsom, leader tackler for six tackles, 3 solos. on that Tigers team. Flipping over to the winless in the conference, Mississippi State Bulldogs. Michael Van Buren, 16 for 28, 191 yards, 1 touchdown. Davin Booth, 12 carries, 124 yards, and 1 touchdown. So, I mean, can't really ask for anything better than your running back.
No, I thought, Buren played well. They just didn't have enough for...
They didn't have a good enough defense in this case.
Right, to keep Mizzou out of Zeno with all the weapons that they have.
Right, because you have 124 of your 147 rushing yards by one player, and somebody doing something good.
Yeah, I mean, Are you ready? Are you ready for the next one?
When I get there, sir. I got one more. Stone Blend, right? 18 tackles, 3 solos, 1 TFL. That kid's in the player for Defensive Player of the Year at the end of the season.
Most definitely. When you have that many tackles and it's in one game.
But like we've said before, individual awards are outcomed by how you play as a team as well, which should
most
be.
Definitely.
So I think in that favor, he's probably not going to get that award.
No.
Probably going to go to somebody like a Debo or a Dylan Kennard from South Carolina or something like that.
Debo had some awesome plays during that game. I caught some. I think he had an interception, and he played really well for South Carolina.
All right, you ready?
Ready?
Be-doo. That's the number 7 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Travel down to Stormin' Norman. Oklahoma Sooners 24. Alabama is still nowhere to be me 3.
Yeah, the only touchdown they had in Oklahoma was when the plane landed. Me and Brittany talked about this for about 2 days, or the whole day last night and this morning. I can't make it make sense. I can't math well. I can't think well. I don't know. This is, Oklahoma's first top 10 win since 2005. Now they are officially bowl eligible. Golly, I got so many different. 2011 was the last time that LSU. Oh, I wrote that wrong down. It's been, I don't remember.
That many years.
Yeah, 17 years since they had a losing season. This is the fewest points scored in the last 20 years, with only being 3 points. And I thought, 2011 was when they got shut out by LSU and they scored no points, which was 13 years ago. Are
you sure you wrote that right?
I'm pretty sure I did.
I don't think you did, because they shut out LSU in the national championship game 21-0.
I may have wrote that.
After LSU beat them 9-6 in the regular season.
Okay, I might have wrote that.
Dyslexia, it happens to everybody.
Yeah. But no, I can't make it make sense. Alabama was the worst I've ever seen. Now, we thought that the Vandy game was bad. No, but they actually scored. They kept it close. Alabama was never really in this. They did have the touchdown run that got caught, or touchdown pass to Hollywood.
Right.
But was called back for illegal touching, which I watched the play, and like I said, fair is fair. That was nowhere near illegal touching, because he was the wide receiver on.
Sounds like another bunch call from an Alabama team.
Right.
Alabama
and
referee team.
I mean, now granted, we had a long, lengthy conversation. Would that give them enough to come back and win the ball game with, I think, 13 minutes left? As good as OU's defense was, I really don't think so. But I mean, as far as Alabama, this is one of the worst percentages we've seen all year from a quarterback in the SEC. 11 for 16.
11 for 26.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
3 picks, 164 yards, and a QBR rating of 15.2%.
QBR 15.4.
Well, I was close.
Ah, well, you try to make it yourself.
Right. I think we have some children in our family that could throw better than that. I know Grayson could. I just can't. I mean, Alabama still 70 rushing yards between Jalen,
and Justice. Yeah. And Jalen only had 7 on 15 carries.
That's make it make sense, my friend.
0.5 average yards.
And no receiver had over more than 4 receptions. I think Williams had 4, Bernard had 3, not Russo, the 81. At the end of Alabama's numbers were 234 total offensive yards, 70 rushing yards, 164 in the air. I mean, golly bum. Enough of that. But oversized, this 5-5 Oklahoma team really, was playing spoiler here, and they did. The Jackson Arnold played electric. One of the best games. He had a QBR rating of 82 point something or another.
0.4.
9 for 11, 68 yards, 25 carries, 131 yards. Did what and Alabama could not stop him. It's like their kryptonite could be the dual threat quarterback. But really, Jackson Arnold, he only threw 11 times. And then Xavier Robinson, 18 carries, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, really put the icing on the cake. But the biggest factor, too, besides their offense, was how well their defense played. 1 sack, 9 tackles for losses, 3 picks, and 1 touchdown on the pick 6. And that's what I told Britt, make it make sense. How could the team that we saw last week against LSU just come in there and beat the snot out of
2 weeks ago
the Tigers, and then flip over 7 days later and not even get off the airplane?
Well, it could have been like another Alabama team fighting on an airplane, but Jalen Milroe, 3 interceptions on 11 for 26 for 164 yards. His average as a passer, 6.3 yards per pass.
And that was only 11 passes. He threw 16, but
26.
What do you think? Did they ever want to look at Ty Simpson fully?
Not this year.
And that's what kind of me and Brittany talked about as far as letting it, But still, he's got a chance to come back next year because he's not a senior. This was one of the trap games that we talked about. Rather, we didn't see it on paper because, of course, I picked Alabama. Looking at stat wise, this should have been a 20 or 30 point blowout. But that's what makes college football, and especially the SEC, so great to a certain extent. But then it gets back to one of the previous episodes called cannibalism. It's what we do.
It is, and what the SEC did pretty much this week was knock themselves out.
Yeah, that was, and that's what the Big Ten and the ACC's teams like that are looking for because yes, they may have 1 or 2 good teams in that conference, like ACC. Miami, SMU were, the top teams, but you flip it around, you have your other team like Clemson and all them trying to stay in there. They're waiting for these 5 or 6 SEC teams to fight it out and
to fizzle out, pretty much.
Yes, to open it up for them to get into that playoff spot.
Yeah, Jeremy Bernard, 4 receptions for 60 yards. Like we said, there's no touchdowns this game for Alabama. But Jaheed Campbell, 12 tackles, 3 solos, half tackle for loss. Flipping over to the Oklahoma Sooner side, Jackson Arnold, 9 for 11, 68 yards. That's pretty bad. But when you're doing it on the feet, don't matter. Because he went 25 for 131 on rushing the ball. So 200-yard rushers this game for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and that hasn't happened against Alabama in 15, 20 years when I was watching on some of the post-show stuff. So
Wild. And then, they kept their defense pretty much everybody getting a piece of candy.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, piece of candy.
Nobody was over 5 tackles. So, if you played, you was getting it. And let me tell you, they're calling Kip Lewis now the Iron, what do they call him? The Iron Killer. The Iron Bowl Killer. Because he had a pick 6 against Auburn and Alabama. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
That's what I was talking to Brett earlier. I said, that's bad a season that we both lose to Vandy and
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Right. What? Could be worse. You gonna flip it?
Oh.
That next game brought Vandy down to Baton Rouge in Death Valley at a night game. Final score, 17-24 in favor of the 22-ranked LSU Tigers.
I think this was for Brian Kelly. This was a must-win. We know that Vandy is going to bowl games, but I think it could have been better if Pavia had some more help. I can't tell you how many times I've said this year, 2 touchdowns he had, all by himself. He had 229 of their yards. But it was LSU to find a way because, Nussmeier was really well. He played really good now. And the Vanderbilt defense couldn't keep up with him. Vandy, 308 yards of offense, 186 to the air, 122, keeping it about fair. But where were your other players to help out Pavia? He can't do it all. He is technically going to consider Vandy's savior, but he needs help. But on the other side, my man. But Nussmeier was really 332, 1 touchdown. What's the Williams kid, the running back?
For who? Josh Williams.
LSU.
Josh Williams.
Oh, yeah, Josh Williams. 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, really pounded him out. Kyron Lacey played really well, did have 1 touchdown after Nussmeier really started hitting his groove. So, 447 offensive yards, 332 in the air, 142 on the ground. So LSU kind of found their groove back after the Georgia loss and other things, not going to the playoffs, not going to the SEC championship. So they're a team of questions for next year as far as Kelly going to be there. Nussmeier senior?
Yes.
You asleep?
No.
Oh, Nussmeier senior?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's gone. There's so many questions right here, especially since they're not going. Well, are they going bowl? What's their record?
7-4.
Okay, so
as of right now, there's only 3 teams not going to a bowl.
And I can take a wild guess who them are.
It's the bottom 3 of the SEC.
Kentucky, Auburn, Mississippi State.
Yep.
Auburn has a chance.
You stop. We'll talk about that next week.
It's going to be shenanigans.
Yeah, that's a next week conversation. We're still trying to get done with this week.
Yeah. So anyway, Vandy didn't have enough power to compete with LSU, and nothing we didn't expect here. Some people did pick Vandy, not me.
I didn't.
Hey, we just got 1 more week in our pick'em. How do we got 3 more weeks?
Because there's 3 weeks left of the season.
I thought I only had 1 more week, and I would win the championship belt, ring, necklace.
You got rivalry week.
Okay.
Conference championship week. Army-Navy game.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that. Anyway, we'll jump to the net. Well, you got stats?
Yeah, I got stats. I got Diego Pavia, 13 for 24, 186 yards, 1 touchdown. Also 6 carries, 43 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground. Nobody else really, he had 6 carries, but Cedric Alexander had 9, had more than him, but only had 24 yardage. But Quincy Skinner Jr. was leading with 3 receptions, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. But Junior Cheryl, Eli Stowers combined 5 catches for about 51 yards. And that's your 2 best receivers?
Yeah, he needs more help. I understand he's a determined player and wants to get after it.
And then on that defensive side, Langston Patterson, 13 tackles, 6 solos, no sacks, and 1 pass breakup. Flipping it over to Daggles. Garrett Nussmeier, 28 for 37, 332 yards, 1 touchdown. Josh Williams, leading rusher this game. First time I've seen him lead rusher this season. They've had a lot of switching up on that running back position. 14 carries for 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Kyron Lacey, 6 receptions, 85 yards, and 1 touchdown. Flipping over to the big defensive side, Whit Weeks, once again, 7 tackles, 5 solos. And that was all she wrote as the LSU Tigers keep their heads above water one more week. This next matchup brings us down to DKR Memorial Stadium as the unranked Kentucky Wildcats travel down into danger territory to face the number 3 Texas Longhorns. 14-31. Pretty much all Longhorns this game.
Oh, and again, nothing we didn't expect here. Quinn Ewers really 2 touchdowns, 191 yards. Really was able to move the ball a lot easier against this Kentucky defense, who was, I mean, they were there, but not too much because, I mean, Florida put up 442 total yards, 191 in the air, 251 on the ground, which was their biggest core part of this win here was a running back core. Kentucky, 332 total, only 21 rushing yards, 211 in the air, though. Too much Texas. I mean, I think Kentucky, because, I mean, did Vandegrift get hurt?
I just think he sucks.
Okay, well, that might be because Bowley come in.
He played pretty bad. 3 for 7, 51 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He played pretty bad. I don't know if he got hurt or not.
Yeah, well, I know Griffin. He did have 1 passing touchdown, but his hit yardage was stinking. And Bowley come in. He didn't do great, but it was a crap show for Kentucky as far as their quarterback questions. And again, bottom of the SEC problems there.
Yeah,
which is kind of shocking because we thought they would do better. But
I really did, but I did say going into the season, for them to be better, you're going to need more clip on Brock Vandegrift. This was the whole thing I was saying earlier about Auburn a couple weeks ago. You're going to have kids transfer out, i.e. quarterbacks, and teams want to know what they're getting because a 5-star coming out of high school, probably not a 5-star anymore. And that's the case, what Kentucky got with a Georgia leftover and Brock Vandegrift, 5-star coming out of high school, honestly looks like a 3-star. Like honestly, he's on the Hank Brown level of, a 3-star. That's what Hank Brown was. That's what he looks like to me. I mean, he wouldn't start at Auburn. He wouldn't be even a 3rd string at Auburn. I mean, that's just showing how bad Auburn's room is as well.
Right. Well, that's all you got. That's all you got. I mean, I get it. They're sticking with him, so.
I mean, they do got a running quarterback in Gavin Winsmith, but that's all he's going to do when he comes in. So, but Cutter Bowl, 10 for 18, 160 yards, 1 interception. Vandegrift, 3 for 7, 51 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Leading rusher was Jamarian Wilcox, 11 carries with 50 yards. Karambay played a little bit, 30 yards on 9 carries. Willie Rodriguez, 3 receptions, 53 yards, 4 fumbles, but didn't lose any for the Wildcats. And then Jamin Dumas-Johnson, 8 tackles, 4 solos, and 1 touchdown. Okay.
You didn't sound so confident in that answer.
Well, my paper shows it, but I'm not seeing it. Let me flip over real quick to see how this sucker scored a touchdown. Strip sack, maybe? 25-yard fumble recovery. But it didn't say he picked up a fumble. That's why I was getting confused at. Quentin Ewers. I did hear something. Don't know if it's true or not. I'm going to do more research, and I'll let you know before you go post the next episode out before rivalry week. Heard Quentin Ewers is hurt. Don't know how that is. It could be, Texas A&M doing their little thing and making a joke.
But I did also hear that maybe a lower body injury as far as ribs, stomach area. I don't know, but as much as they're paying him, he'll be fine.
Yeah. Quentin Ewers, 20 for 31, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, stolen. And then on the running back side, Trevion Wisner, 26 carries, 158 yards, 1 touchdown. Matt Golden had a good receiving game, 7 receptions, 86 yards. But the big tight end, Gunnar Helm, 5 receptions, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns.
He's been pretty heavy-handed with Gunnar Helm here the last couple of weeks, and I don't see it stopping.
Same thing with Carson Beck and Delp.
Yeah.
But on that defensive side, as we get wrapping up here with Texas, Anthony Hill Jr., 11 tackles, 7 solos, 2 sacks, 4 tackle for losses to keep the Longhorns inside the SEC race. There it is. Wasn't the one I was looking for. I was trying to go for this one. And then this one. Because that was the number 15th ranked Texas A&M Aggies traveling down to Jordan-Hare Stadium as a senior night game. 4 overtimes is what it took for Auburn to squeak this one out. 41-43. Auburn.
Most definitely, probably the best game in college football this week. Even with our game of the week was pretty close, but this had everything you wanted. Finally, as you and I texted back and forth, this was the best half. The first 2 quarters were the best half that Auburn has played all year.
How about the first 8 minutes was the best?
Yes,
half.
I mean, Peyton looked amazing. Kim Coleman, was doing things. Jacquez was just smashing the ball. Lambert Smith was making crazy catches. I said again, like you said, it was senior night, and I really think Jacquez had that fire in him, especially that drive, that first scoring drive that he had.
Oh yeah,
was really 130 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was running like a man on a mission, and I think he did that. Auburn 469 total offensive yards, 301 in the air, as Peyton Thorne just looked really good. Did have 1 interception, but I think it was a tipped ball. 168 on the ground. Jacquez had 130 of it with 3 touchdowns. Looked really good. But on the other side, Texas A&M did not look bad either. The numbers matched up fairly well, as they had 464 total offensive yards, 297 in the air, and then 1 yard less than Auburn in rushing as 167. This was a really good game for both teams. It's just, Auburn put enough to win. I think Auburn won a little bit more. Marcel Reed still had an amazing game. 297, 3 touchdowns. Aiden Daniels, 90 yards on 1 touchdown. And then, is that Michael Thomas? Noah Thomas, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, still impressive. But then I think you could say this, playing at Jordan-Hare at night in the atmosphere that it was, how chaotic it was, I think could have been that. I thought one of the best plays of the year for Auburn was that, and coming in this game, was the 63-yard touchdown bomb from Thorne to Cam Coleman, with the 2 safeties almost met in the middle, and he skipped right through them, and Thorne really threw that in the breadbasket. And another, one thing we talked about, like I said, that after that we talked at halftime of this game, that we was enjoying it, but we're also pissed off at the same time due to the fact, where has this team been all year? If they had been playing games like the first half they had played, Auburn would probably be already in a bowl game. Because some of these other games, especially the Oklahoma game, the Vandy game, where there was more fire.
Either one of those games, even the Arkansas game, you bring that level of intensity that you talked about, they're bowl eligible. We're not having to worry to going into the Iron Bowl to face Alabama to worry about this.
Like I said in the post show, that's all Auburn is now the rest of this year is to play spoiler. I mean, if they play spoiler again next week in Tuscaloosa, that makes them bowl eligible. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket because I'm already getting a finger from Brittany. So, I mean, I'm excited for next week. I mean, it's the Iron Bowl. We throw records and all that stuff out the window, but I'm glad to see to get this win. I mean, knocking off a top-ranked team, and literally all the potential, like I said, KLS really played outstanding. Cam Coleman, just his acrobat and his hands. Defense really, we did allow a few yards. I mean, 464 yards, but evenly put it out. I mean, I thought the back seven, the cornerbacks, Crawford prayed out of his shoes.
Yeah.
a good game. Kendrick Falk was there. We got banged up a little bit, I think, on the line. I think Blalick, he got banged
Talking
up.
about Bibdy?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know if he come back in or not. But still, super excited win, 4 overtimes. And, Cece was at the ball game.
Yeah, I seen that.
And her mom had sent me some pictures, and she was just having a blast. I mean, she was shaking her palm. I'm just really living it up. So, I mean, for that part of it, makes me excited about this game. But nothing better than to get a good win here at the end of the season for a season that we had so much expectation for. And now we've seen what we could have had. It really makes you wonder a little bit, but still a good win for this Auburn team that really needed one.
Right, yeah. Excuse me. Peyton Thornton, 19 for 31. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jarquez Hunter, breakout game again. 28 carries, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then back-to-back games, 100-yard receivers, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions for Cameron Coleman. And then only 2 receptions, 104 yards as a 52 average for KLS.
So what is, Peyton putting the touchdown in the overtime to KLS.
It's not a touchdown. It's 2-point conversion.
Touchdown. And I didn't even think about it because I was looking up stats earlier, and I thought, well, I thought Peyton had another and KLS had a touchdown. And I asked Brittany about it. She said, no, it's still a 2-point conversion.
Yep. If you don't score a touchdown the first 2 possessions, it don't really matter.
And then again, back to the defense. That last drive, they really stepped up. I thought it was, it was a bend and not break situation. Yeah. The back 7 stepped up, and when that ball hit that guy's hand, and the Auburn guy I did some fist pumping and slamming around. So
that'd be all right. You should have been at work.
Yeah. You ready for the next one?
Auburn's lead man on defense was Jalen McLeod, 10 tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for losses as we travel down to our interstate game of the week. That matchup brought us a pretty, numbers-wise, okay, let's get this right. A top 5 matchup. Number 5 Indiana traveled down to Columbus, Ohio to face the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes. That was about the closest this game was ever going to get anywhere. Final score, 38-15 as the Buckeyes win at the Horseshoe.
One word for this game, exposed. Indiana got exposed, and they really did, because it all falls back. I mean, yes, the game was a little close at first, but I think at the end of the day, the strength of schedule for Indiana really come to a head right here in this game as they looked atrocious. Ohio State did what they want to. Will Howard was just really good. 22 for 24, 2 touchdowns, 201 yards. And that Curtis brought 8 for 18, 68 yards. Was not his best day. But if all your other games you've played like the savior for Indiana football, but if you haven't played nobody, you jump up in the rankings and move up. Now you play a number 2 team in the country. I mean, this is what happens. I think OSU has kind of locked up their spot in the Big Ten. Just exposed is the best word to really put it. OSU's defense really was knocking him around with 8 sacks, 8 tackles for losses. Just another big day as usual for the Buckeyes, but Indiana stick to basketball.
I don't think you do that for Indiana. I mean, record 10-0, but you're not playing anybody.
Exactly.
You're playing the opposite teams inside the Big Ten. You're not playing Penn State. You played Ohio State, but you're not playing Penn State. You're not playing Oregon. You're not playing these other teams, That's why you're 10-0 going into Week 13.
Right.
Pat yourself on the back for beating some cupcakes and take your L and get out of the college football playoffs and give somebody else that's in there supposed to be in there.
Right, that should. And you think they'll make it in?
No, because I'll tell you why. Is because Arizona State's going to win the Big 12 title in 2 weeks because Cam Scatterbo is a pissing man at running the ball.
Dude, yeah, I watched some of that Arizona State game. That was a really good ball game. Just trying to find some time to watch the other games.
Right.
But yeah, again, the strength of schedule really reared its head and kind of put Indiana in its place like it should have. And you are right. Let somebody who really deserves, that has fought their way, strength of schedule harder than the menu at Starbucks. So you get what you get. Don't pitch a fit.
Right. That upset alert was because our game of the week ended up in an upset down in the swamp, as number 9, the Ole Miss Rebels, traveled down to Florida, and the Gators chomped their way to a victory, 24-17 Gators.
Well, first, before we jump into this one, huge shout out to Hayden Coker, HCS Media. He predicted both the big upsets, the Auburn one and this one, which is not super shocking. We have seen Ole Miss struggle, but the bedside fort that I put in the preview show was the Florida Magic continues, and now they're bowl eligible with their 6th win, which super shocking at the beginning of the season. Florida did everything right. Lagway, Marshall Johnson, Elijah Badger, Jordan Brock really played lights out as far as everything that they needed. 344 total offensive yards. Broke it up evenly again here. 180 in the air, 164 on the ground, and Ole Miss couldn't stop them.
Good. Like you said, Jackson Dart, 24 for 41, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's what cost him the game, let's be real.
Oh, most definitely.
But he had 71 yards on the ground. 94 yards for Caden Lee, 1 touchdown, 1 reception. Centurion Perkins, 10 receptions, 4 solos, half sack, half tackle for loss on that defense. Swapping over to the Florida Gator side. DJ Lagway, 10 for 17, 187, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Marshall Johnson Jr., 18 carries, 107 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Elijah Badger, 5 receptions, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Bryce Thornton on that defense, 14 tackles, 5 solos. And that's all she wrote for that Florida defense. Florida came up, showed out. Didn't really expect them to win this game.
No.
I didn't.
I thought as the weapons that Ole Miss had with Dart and Harris and all of them guys would really prevail. But like I said, the Florida Magic is there. Napier must be putting extra Kool-Aid in the water bottle or something. Like you said, I really thought Jackson and Dart's 2 interceptions really hurt this team. But there's a play in the third quarter, Ole Miss had a muff punt, turned the ball over. The game was still kind of close there. I think the big momentum swing right there in Florida went on to win this game due to the third turnover in this contest.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a very big game, big win for Billy Napier and his team. I just think it's kind of funny it happened so early. It kind of started everything inside the SEC pretty much.
Right.
So it was kind of like, once I saw that happen, I was like, buckle your seatbelts up because stuff's about to get wild right here. Right.
Well, like I said, if we want to go back and look at the early stuff that we done as far as before we got into games and stuff, and this being our first year, it's really shocking. And this being a new year in college football with everything going on, like in Florida, Arkansas, and stuff like that. And we knew Tennessee would be up there, but we had no idea Texas A&M would be sticking around to be one of the top teams. So I think there was a lot that we've learned from so far. We still got rivalry week, which is going to thin out the rest of the SEC and make for a lot of fun for next week.
Right. And that concludes all the games that we've had for Week 13 inside the SEC. And now let's head over to the favorite part of the episode as the under-review stat standings. Leading off with passing yards, Jackson Dart, 3,732, first. Number 2, Garrett Nussmeier, 3,458. And then number 3, Carson Beck, 3,132. Passing touchdowns. Jackson Dart, 24, number 1. Number 2, Carson Beck, 23. Garrett Nussmeier, 23. Quentin Ewers, 23, all tied for second. And then third, standalone Peyton Thorne, 20 touchdowns.
That's shocking.
Yeah, I told you it could happen. Dylan Sampson is your lead running back with 1,307 yards. Charquez Hunter is your second running back, 1,145 yards. And then Raheem Rocket Sanders breaking into that number 3 spot, 821 yards. Now rushing touchdowns, of course, Dylan Sampson, 22. Jalen Milroe, second, 17. And then Jaquindon Jackson, third, at 12. Heading over to receiving yards. Trey Harris, 1,030 yards. Andrew Armstrong, 1,012 yards, sitting at second. And finally, third, Keandre Lambert-Smith, KLS, 865 yards. Heading over to passing touchdowns, there's a four-way tie at 8 touchdowns. Four-way tie for 8 touchdowns at first. And that is KLS, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Kyron Lacey from LSU, Matthew Golden from Texas, and Ryan Williams from Alabama. And then handed for second place, 7 touchdowns apiece, is Jordan Watkins from Ole Miss, Trey Harris from Ole Miss, and then Cam Coleman from Auburn, all with 7 in second. And then rounding out in third is Joshua Smith, tight end from South Carolina with 6, Luther Burden with 6, and then Noah Thompson with 6. And that is your under review stat standings. All right, so like we hit into last week, we have a new thing coming up. It's going to be inside the offseason. It's called the Under Review Podcast Best All-Time Logo. And that concludes of any logo voted by you as the fans inside the SEC to get this spot. This poll will be a Monday to Monday poll. So once the new poll goes up, the new poll goes down. We're doing it on TikTok. We're doing it on Facebook. We're doing it on YouTube. We're even doing it on Instagram. So we have now 4 platforms for you to choose from. Marty, hit us with the slide.
Well, so we're going to our first weekend alphabetical order. I think we're going to start that way, maybe finish. But the first week, it's going to be your Alabama Crimson Tide.
That's right.
Like I said, some classic logos through the years. The first logo is going to be the 1952 to 1973 elephant. And a lot of the retro logos do just have this thing. But if you look close in that logo, it seems to look like another team's down south logo that plays in Alabama. We won't get too much into that, but that's your first choice. Option number 2, 1973 to 1998. To me, one of the best retro logos in college football. Black background looks really well. Number 3, the elephant running through the Alabama logo there is from 1998 to 2004. Most fans that are here now are going to look at number 4 and say, hey, that's the one I identify as because that's what I was growing up. 2004 to 2018. But the most famous one here is probably going to be number 5, which is going to be mostly a Nick Saban kind of deal here. Just the old English, old style A with the 2018 to present logo.
So where would you be leaning towards on this? You said number 2?
Most definitely number 2. I do like the retro. When we were in Alabama, I did find some more that were like, I think there was one in between 1 and 2, like at 70, that wasn't a popular logo they did use. Kind of a similar with the elephant head and the hat. But yeah, I like number 2. I'm a retro guy, so a lot of my stuff's probably going to be retro during this tournament. But yeah, that's my favorite, and that's the only one I like.
You know, I remember number 2 from when Pawpaw used to wear it on hats, and Uncle Robbie, they would wear it on hats and stuff like that.
Uncle Robbie still got the same hat.
Right, but my personal favorite is number 3 right here. As you said, 1998. Was the year I was born. Didn't really know it, but from 98 to 04, this was a logo, and I like you going with the old one. I identify more as this one. When I see Alabama, I like old school logos as well. I think these other two were they're bland, they're plain, and a little bit too much on number 4. Too much for me per se. Number 5 just looks like Atlanta with a mullet, so I don't really like that one per se.
I do like the Braves, but not with a mullet.
Yeah, you can keep that mullet in Alabama. Don't mess with my Braves. But I'll be voting for 3. The elephant, it's mean,
So now is this part of the tournament are we going to get Brandon and Jud with this one as well?
Well, they can vote. This is
I'm not wondering if it's just me and you on this part.
I think this part will actually just be me and you.
Okay, I wasn't 100% because I know I wasn't 100% sure pounding out. But yeah, fans, we've got 4 different platforms. Get your votes in. I'm going to get a thing up tomorrow on Facebook, so you can go in and vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do have a favorite, but I don't have a favorite because not my favorite team in the world. But I am retro guy. I'm an 80s kid, and I like that one my favorite.
Right. Like we said, we want to thank everybody for everything they do. Follow us on the 4 platforms. Like, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Like, subscribe, as Kelly would used to say. Share with your friends. If you're on Facebook, share what we post with them. Get more people involved, especially this week in voting. More votes, the merrier, just to help y'all out. But we also want to thank God for everything He's done for us here lately, because God loves you, and we also love you here at the Under Review Podcast. We also want to thank, special thanks to our sponsor, Chuck's Heating and Air. We want to thank the Dadpod at Hunter Brassfield and Nicholas Adams over there, doing what they're doing every weekend, week out. Hayden Coker from the HCS Media.
The professor.
High insight from that guy.
Right.
Love it. And then Brandon Trammell and Jud Dickinson for everything that they have done and everything they will do for us shortly inside the offseason and whatnot. So
just quick, before we get out of here, and we're going to need extra thoughts and prayers because we both live in a divided house. As far as the iron goes, so if either one of us if we either have black eyes.
Well, mine usually sleeps during, and that's when Auburn will win. So,
hey, yes, I remember that. So if you need some melatonin, I can get her some.
It don't work on her.
If we need to watch the baby, whatever. If she sleeps and Auburn wins, I'll be fine.
Right. Well, as we get out of here, we love you. We'll see y'all next week for what will be rivalry week inside the SEC. Thank you.
Thanks for making the call to go under review. Join us next time as we go to the monitors. Until then, keep your flag handy.